Elon Musk is planning to cut 75% of Twitter's workforce if and when he becomes owner of the company, according to a report released by the Washington Post on Thursday. This could cut the staff down from 7,500 to just over 2,000. Now, according to the Washington Post, even if Musk's Twitter deal falls through, big cuts are expected at the company because Twitter's current management plans to cut the company's payroll by $800 million by the end of next year, the Post says. Joining us now to weigh in, Democratic strategist Amisha Cross. Welcome back.
Thanks for having me.
So I probably have the view that many of our viewers do. If we're cutting down on content moderators who are making questionable decisions or who are parroting a kind of mainstream media consensus and forcing it on the platform, that would be great. If we're cutting down people who are, making sure the platform isn't taken over by bots and spam and whatever other harassment, et cetera, then it could quickly become a worse user experience for everyone. And I don't know, what do you expect to happen, Amisha?
This is Elon Musk doing what Elon Musk does best. I think that what we're seeing here is him basically trying to create and promote his own cadre of soldiers. And he wasn't going to keep everybody on board that was already there anyway. He has his own people. He's going to bring those folks in. Knowing that the size, the scope of what this social media giant does already, it's very interesting that he wants to cut by that much. But again, I think that this is him trying to harness what he feels this could be. But in addition to that, I do believe that there's a certain part of him that is very upset at some of the social media moderation that has been going on at this point. Yeah. And he wants to give those people a voice to rise up. I don't know, clearly January 6th didn't affect him in any way. And he's absolutely fine seeing these clowns basically do what they do best.
Bacha, I know you're a bit skeptical of some of Elon Musk's, or you're worried about how, and I agree with you on this, how he could be leveraged because of his interest in China, for instance, that he talks this game about free speech, but we've seen time and time again big companies bow to China when their bottom line is involved. So what do you think about this?
Yeah, I think that the mainstream media keeps missing the point with Elon Musk. The question of content moderation, that is a real legitimate question. There are good arguments on both sides. On the one hand, you don't want just hate speech all over the place. On the other hand, they're clearly overdoing it, and there's a sort of Democratic Party line going at Twitter to decide what gets to stay up and what doesn't. That seems like pretty clear. That's, but that is a really difficult problem that, I wouldn't say that, Elon Musk or whoever owns Twitter shouldn't have if you own it, that is a problem that you're going to get to decide where you fall on that. The real problem with Elon Musk owning Twitter is that he is 100% in the pocket of the Chinese Communist Party, and he never says no to them. He built a showroom for Tesla in the Xinjiang region, which is where they are genociding the Uyghur Muslims. And to be a billionaire, to have all the FU money that any person could ever have, the richest man in the world, and what you do with that privilege is you build a showroom in the shadow of a concentration camp. What is that person going to do with a social media platform that has a huge impact on the American public discourse? I really think that is the most important question when it comes to Elon Musk and Twitter, and that's the one that never gets talked about.
I also thought it was kind of funny the way the media kind of described this as catastrophic. Elon Musk is gonna gut the company, and then it's going to lead to more hate speech and such things online. Of course, everyone was already threatening to quit Twitter right over Elon Musk, and then he wasn't going to buy it, and then Twitter sued him to force him to buy it. So there's this really ridiculous cat and mouse game between Elon Musk and Twitter and the employees, where they're all getting upset about this, but they ultimately they wanted him to have to buy the company because it's in some ways in bad shape. I mean, I've noticed I use Twitter so much less these days. I don't know about you all. Brianna was saying the same thing. In the way that social media is becoming less of a vehicle for news delivery. This is true of Facebook as well. I think it's true to some extent of YouTube, the platform we rely on this show. My sense is that all of the social media giants became have internalized the message that was screamed at them by people in the mainstream media and people in the government that you letting people talk and letting people learn and letting people read and letting people watch is corrupting our democracy, because then they'll reach conclusions we don't want them to reach. So we're going to haul you before Congress and scream at you until you stop doing that. And so they've said, okay, don't hurt us. We're going to stop doing that. And I think that has been already and is going to continue to be a loss for the interesting conversations that sometimes chaotic, sometimes harmful, I guess, but interesting nonetheless, and sometimes arriving at a truth that the mainstream media has missed. That's been happening because of these platforms, and I'm worried that regardless of what happens with like an Elon Musk type character, and maybe he's going to position himself against this direction, I think that would be useful. But I don't know. I think we might be exiting the phase where Facebook and Twitter and some of these other platforms have as much control, serve as the kind of public news feed for news consuming people. I don't know. What do you guys think about that?
Depends on who's in office. Because at the end of the day, we know that former President Trump used Twitter in a much different way than we've seen any other elected official utilize it. And I think that it helped to, in some ways, bolster interest, and it drove news and it drove media, because out of the White House, this man was tweeting regularly.
Right.
But what we're seeing is that more people, the social media is definitely segmented at this point in a way that we see happen every few years. There's a new social media juggernaut that comes out that everybody jumps on. This is a new shiny thing. Right now, that thing is TikTok. As it relates to news, Twitter is still mainstay. Facebook kind of lost it a few years ago. But more people get their news from Twitter than they do any other social media. So I don't think that that's going to go away anytime too soon. It's finding a way to harness that, finding a way to diminish some of the crazy talk. Crazy talk has been happening on social media since before Facebook even existed, or on the internet since before Facebook even existed. I don't think there's a way to eradicate it completely, but that moderation is extremely important. I think that to Batya's point earlier, it is very significant that the cozy relationship that Elon Musk has with China, because of the economic curtails for himself, that's something that we should investigate more. I think it's a lot easier for people to jump on the, let's just not have him take over Twitter bandwagon than it is to jump and dive into this more serious conversation. But I also feel like nobody was ever really going to leave Twitter in the same way after Trump got elected. Nobody was ever really going to move to Canada. People just say things when they're upset.
I read crazy talk in the Washington Post every day. We talk about how there's a lot of bad stuff on all these social media platforms, but there's bad stuff in our existing media institutions that just get things all wrong all the time. But don't turn it into a reflection of this dark corner our society has entered. So it feels unfair. I don't know. What do you think, Batya?
I just hate being put in the position where I have to defend Elon Musk, like when he was coming up with some really good solutions to the Ukraine-Russia crisis, and the entirety
let's do the
of
Musk
Twitter
plan.
sort of came for him. Exactly.
Secretary of State Elon Musk. I'm all for it. It was a perfectly legitimate plan, and that'd be another segment. But anyway, we'll have more Rising right after this. Stay with us.